Hey, what's going on, everyone? Ken here. A couple quick notes before we start the show as I sit in this busy Starbucks editing the podcast here. The first half of the show, Melissa's mic didn't record properly, so it's a little funky. It gets cleaned up at the end of the show, so apologies for that. And also, on Monday after the recording, Niantic opened the floodgates in regards to the Halloween event, and the Reggie's coming back, and the Colossal Discovery, and all this crazy stuff. So there's tons of news out there that we haven't had the chance to cover yet on the show because it was announced after we recorded. So next week we'll definitely cover all the details, but check in with our social media to hear the latest on that. Okay, that's all. Enjoy the show. What's going on, Pokemon Go trainers? Welcome to episode 100 of Lured Up, the podcast where we take Pokemon Go way more seriously than we do ourselves. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network. Today is Sunday, October 13th, 2019. I'm your host, Ken, joined by my co-hosts, Adam and Melissa. Hello, friends. How are you?
Hey, now.
You're a rock star.
Yeah, today's Adam's birthday.
Game on.
Today's Adam's birthday. Happy birthday. Oh. Happy birthday, Adam.
Hey, thank you.
He's 12.
Birthday love.
I'm 12.
But we are not alone today. We are joined by a very special guest. Miss Mystic is in the house. How are you? Hello. Welcome.
What?
Hello. Happy birthday, Adam.
Thank you.
We're very excited to have you. I can't wait to talk some PvP and some Pokemon Go with you in just a moment. I got to get through some housekeeping rigmarole like I do every week. This podcast is powered by Patreon. Please check ours out over at patreon.com/PokemonProfessor, where you can support this show for as little as $1 a month. And that $1 will get you access to our patron-exclusive Discord, which is a fantastic place filled with fantastic people.
You know what? It sure is.
After the break, I'm going to give everyone a shout. I totally forgot to shout everybody out last episode, so my apologies. So I'll make sure when we get back from the break, I cover all you guys and give you the thanks that you deserve for supporting the show. But if Patreon isn't your thing, there's a few other ways you can help us out. If you're listening on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And if you're listening via a podcast service like Apple Podcasts, you can take a moment to leave us a review. 5 stars are the best stars. Okay, on today's show, we're going to get to know Miss Mystic. Niantic has announced the Wayfarer review system program. This is going to be a pretty cool and very important, thing to follow in the next couple weeks, but it has been officially announced. New EX eligible gyms have popped up everywhere. My community got 4 new EX Ray gyms, so we'll talk about that. We have a shit ton of miscellaneous news to cover, and we have a listener email as well. But first, we're going to get to know Miss Mystic. How are you? Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. What's going on?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're very excited to have you. And it's a very special episode, too. It's episode 100. This is a big deal. This is a good one.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here for your 100th episode.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Why don't you introduce yourself, let us know where you're from and kind of what you're all about, and then we'll kind of dig into the whole Miss Mystic thing because it's very awesome, and I think you do an absolutely awesome job of kind of building this brand for yourself because you have become notorious with your look and everything, and we'll get there. But why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, I'm from Ohio. I help run a few communities out there. I assist with tournament organization and also with stream production. So I think that's good starting point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's and I spent a decent amount of time in Ohio when I was younger because I was playing in bands that would tour in Ohio all the time. What part of Ohio are you actually in?
I'm in Columbus.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we used to go through there a lot. There was some cool bands back in the day that we used to play with in that area. So that's really cool.
They used to have nationals for the TCG there.
Yes.
I actually went to it this year.
Really? To DC?
Yes. Yeah. No, I went to nationals So North American Nationals is in Columbus, Ohio, for the Pokemon competition, and Worlds was in DC. So right after GoFest this year, it was about 2 weeks later, in my hometown, I went to Nationals. They actually had advertised that there would be Pokemon Go PvP, but there wasn't really anyone there.
Well, I think that might have been a little bit ahead of its time because they saved all they saved all the chips for DC, where they kind of let it all out, which is really cool. Adam was in DC for that event, so he got to
that was a lot of fun.
I was too.
Oh, really? Let's see.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, Adam was in the room watching it happen.
How did you miss her, Adam?
See, man?
I definitely missed you.
I was also in the
how
room.
Did you miss her? Like, she's like unmissable.
Watching it happen.
Well, Adam was playing in the DC Open for the TCG, so his he was hyper focused on the cards.
Of course.
And plushies, obviously.
Yes. Of course.
But that's a very important element.
All right, couple basic questions. You're on Team Instinct, right?
Fun
or is it
story. I actually almost went Valor when I first started playing.
Oh man,
I did, yeah.
I'm glad you came to
right? Miss Valor doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, the alliteration is
score.
Not at all.
But what's your history with the Pokemon franchise? I mean, if did you go to Nationals like specifically for Go, or do you kind of have an affinity for the franchise prior to Go?
So I went to Nationals just for Go, but I originally got into the franchise when I was much younger. I started on the anime and got into the cards. I actually got a holographic Charizard in my very first card pack, which made me the evil kid in the Pokemon Club.
Get her!
So, yeah, exactly. There were quite a few trade propositions that were a little unreasonable because I didn't know any better. I almost went through with them, but thank goodness I didn't.
Well,
Do you still have the card?
Oh, yes, of course I do.
Oh, hell yeah.
Of course.
So awesome.
So talk to me about cosplay here because, if you guys don't know, why don't you explain kind of your look? And I think you've created this persona and this representation of yourself. And you're, like Melissa was saying, you're kind of not easy to miss because you rock this awesome cosplay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So I've cosplayed prior to Pokemon Go. I'm a little socially awkward, so when we're talking about going out to large events where there's lots of people around, dressing up is always something that I've enjoyed, and it kind of makes me feel just a little bit more comfortable to be there as kind of like a character that people can recognize. There have been a few conventions in the Ohio area as well as the Chicago area that I have been to in other cosplays, but obviously when Pokemon Go came out, once I had gone Mystic, it kind of made sense for me that I would cosplay the leader of Team Mystic. I kind of look like her, so it wasn't too far of a stretch. Yeah.
So was it like naturally, like as soon as you chose the team, you were kind of like, oh, I think I could pull this off. Like, was it right away that you figured you would do something like that?
No, it was actually for Pokemon Go Fest 2017 that I had decided I was going to cosplay.
So you've been doing this for years then, but like, was there a turning point when you were like, okay, this is kind of my thing now? Like, this is how people kind of associate with me at these events. Was there ever that turning point? Because it's like, it's the weirdest thing, but I mean, I would only recognize you as Blanche. Like, I mean, it's the funniest thing.
Right.
Like, you rock it. You know what I mean? Like, you look so good with it. Like, was there that point where you're like, okay, I guess this is where it's going?
Blanche.
Yeah.
So I would say that this year is when I noticed a difference. So prior to this year, I had cosplayed for GoFest 2017 and GoFest 2018. And then this year I cosplayed at 2019, but that was the point where people started to actually kind of almost project Blanche's character onto me.
Yes.
So I have actually had people say things to me like, "You're very calm and analytic," and I am not at all calm or analytic, but that is the persona that Blanche has, and this is how they have seen me. So it's very interesting because I now have this character that is kind of projected on me.
No, that's so cool. And I mean, like, even with, and we'll get into kind of like the whole thing with, doing like in-person events and PvP events and shoutcasting and all that stuff. But like being in character during those events, as far as like your appearance is, like, I think that's just, it's really cool. And it adds this instant kind of recognition to what's going on. And
because you nail the look.
Yeah.
You nail the look, and it's like you could be looking across like the crowd, and there's like a spotlight on you because you look so rad. Like you're colorful.
You're like, am I Ivy checking right now?
You look so rad. It's like I remember seeing you for the first time. I was just like, what? Who? How? That's amazing. Yes. Like it just, you really do like nail it. Like how far has your costume come from like the first time you decided to cosplay as her?
A long way, actually. And I had thought about putting together kind of like a collage of photos just to show almost like the evolution of Blanche as one of my cosplays over time.
I would totally like to see something like that, like the progression of your costume, because like I'm sure as you're playing her more and dressing her more and owning her character more, like adding the details to your outfit is just, elaborating on that feeling and what you're projecting to the people around you.
There are definitely still pieces
always evolving.
that I'm even adding to it now. So like originally when I first started cosplaying Blanche, it was just a basic costume that I had ordered off of Amazon for $100. And
that's how it starts. That's usually how it starts.
That's how it always starts.
That is, yeah. But now I have this coat that is theater grade, and I have sewn my own custom pant leggings because it has the little the hitch that goes under the shoe and everything. And I ordered a pair of custom boots, and now it's gone a little farther.
You're in deep.
Yes, committed. Committed.
Yeah.
But you know what? It feels awesome when you can add those extra pieces and like make the details really come to life. Like when you can really nail that detail in real life and it doesn't look, just
that's
thrown together.
But also not out of a box.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's a significant, like, even if I just look at the photos from the first time I cosplayed Blanche to, like, this year, really, there's a very significant difference between, like, what I see, at least, But, of course, I know all the details that have been added since, so.
No. Yeah, well, we're all more critical of ourselves.
Yeah. Of course.
Yes.
All right, well, let's talk PvP a little bit, because I think this is kind of your passion when it comes to style of play and what you really get behind, right? Like PvP is your thing.
So I would say that I'm a community supporter. I definitely like enjoy PvP. There's a huge part of PvP that I enjoy just between like personal interactions through friends and whatnot. But when it comes to like my place in the PvP community, I more often than not am facilitating something or organizing something for a group of other people.
Well, that's awesome, because that's a huge position to fill in this stage of where PvP is as far as a community is concerned, because that's really one of the biggest challenges with getting PvP kind of raising the awareness and getting communities involved is you kind of need that cheerleader. You need that person to kind of be the herald of, the hype man behind PvP.
Yes,
because it's not like being promoted the way other parts of the game are. It's not like in your face. And there's this, we've talked about it a shit ton on the show. There's a big barrier to entry when it comes to understanding what it would take to be a competitive player. Like anyone could pick up and play PvP, but being good at PvP is much harder than saying, "Hey, I want to be a good raider,
right.
or a good shiny hunter." Like it's much more analytical. So, like, what do you think? As a person that works with the community, what do you think that we could do to kind of help increase awareness of PvP at large? Because I think that's probably, there's every community is going to have that one or two champions of PvP that are trying to get people off their asses and get people excited. Like, any tips you can give of what you've seen good success with getting people kind of excited and engaged in the PvP world?
So, in my opinion, and from what I have seen, what draws people out to partake in PvP, if they aren't like originally interested, is really friendship. Is what I think would help. If so for example, I have a few people who I will spar with, and they are not PvP people, but because they are my friend and I need practice, they try to actually put the effort in to have the Pokemon that are relevant to whatever I'm trying to practice. And as a result, they actually have gotten better. I
was going to say you're like passively training them to be better players.
It's like that's not what the intent is, but it's kind of like if you're like practicing theater, whoever you're practicing with winds up learning your lines too.
Right, sure.
Kind of thing.
That's a good way to, it's a cool way to put it though. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, I think that really capitalizing on friendship is how we will be able to make, to push PvP awareness further.
Yeah, I was having a conversation. I hosted a Sinister Cup this morning, and I was having a conversation with one of the trainers who was new to PvP, and he was kind of talking about, the crew that we had there today. Like these people it's a small group, but they're exceptionally dedicated. They're running scrims like every day. They're really practicing. Like they're really, really good. And we had this conversation, and I was explaining how PvP is kind of like when Daniel's son was getting trained by Mr. Miyagi, and he's like painting the fence and sanding the floor, and he's like, what the hell am I doing? And then all of a sudden it just started making sense, and he was able to block and kick ass and all that stuff. It's like that's what I see with PvP, because you have people that they know how the mechanics work. I know how to throw a punch. I know how to throw a kick. But understanding what goes behind, the depth of the strategy with, choosing the right Pokemon, choosing the right starter, the closer, when to shield, when to switch, all that kind of stuff. That stuff is just, you got to put in the time. And, that is part of the barrier to entry to PvP. And it's like, you just got to get people excited about it. And then all that other shit will come. It's they just got to get used to the mechanics. But let's we love putting on tinfoil hats on this show. So like, what do you think is coming with this in-game kind of PvP competition ranking system that's going to be in-game, the Niantic brand of PvP, competitive PvP? What do you have any expectation? Like, what would you like to see from an in-game system that can kind of complement what we're seeing from the third parties out there like Silph Road?
So in general, as just for the sake of my own mental health, I try to make sure not to ever expect anything.
That's no fun.
So smart.
If I were to put a tinfoil hat on,
yes,
I imagine that the in-game mechanics are going to be very similar to that of other competitive games. For example, I think Clash of Clans would be worth comparing to.
Sure.
I think that there will definitely be a difference between those who pay to continue to compete and those who do not. Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of.
Oh man, it's such a good topic because there's like so many people have so many different points of view of like how this Versus Seeker is gonna work and like how will the monetization influence how you're able to play this game in the future? It's going to be wild. Like, people are...
I mean, who knows? Maybe if you win a certain amount of matches, you get some kind of exclusive tournament invite in game, you know? Like, there's so many ways they could go with this.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this kind of works, because we need it. And I think that really, and we've been beating this drum for freaking months, it's all about matchmaking, because the person that's never been to a Sylph tournament or never been in a hyper competitive environment like that, but they want to experience PvP, being able to be sitting in the bathroom on the toilet and do matchmaking and like get a PvP battle going, you know what I mean? Like, that's paramount to accessibility, and I think that's going to be the thing that will change the amount of people that are engaged at PvP. And let's just hope that they get that matchmaking system right, because, something like Clash Royale, you know what I mean? It's like a 3-second queue to get a match. It's like, there's enough players out there that I think that if they successfully can pull off a solid matchmaking system, it's going to be a game changer, because people are going to get, into it.
Not only that, but if you have something that you're fighting for, like if they launch this and they say, like at the end of it, whoever's ranked, top 25 or, whatever, they get Worlds invites. And then we actually see
they definitely,
competitors.
they integrated some kind of reward.
Yeah. And that's what would like almost force me into becoming good. Like, I'd want to be playing more. I'd want to be playing every day just to make that a possibility. Not going through a third party. That's why it's not enticing for me personally. I know others.
But they would have to tie it to Pokemon.com. It would have to be tied to your Pokemon Trainer Club account, similar to like if you were competing in the TCG. You go to your local card shop, you play your matches, you win, they report back to Pokemon Company, and then the next day it's...
That's as simple as finding a professor who can host VG tournaments, right?
Yep. Yeah, so it's like you need that, that infrastructure would need to be there if they're going to follow a similar path of like the TCG or the VG. So that way, when you play in these remote tournaments where, maybe it is something where they try to roll out an in-person event, kind of thing at the existing network of vetted professor program people, where like if you're running a TCG tournament at your local card shop, that place would kind of be welcomed into hosting Pokemon Go tournaments. Who knows? Right. I think that the future is very bright when it comes to that. But you are involved with the Sylph Road, and the Sylph Road has done an amazing job creating the Sylph Arena, and that's really been the background and the backbone of competitive PvP as we know it right now with Pokemon Go. And it's always an interesting conversation, and I'd like to get your take on this, of how an in-game system and how in-game mechanics that revolve around competitive PvP could impact something like the Sylph Arena. Because, I have people in my camp that are thinking like, oh man, if they do this right, this is going to be the death of Go Stadium. It's going to be the death of, the Sylph Arena. And then you have people like me who are like, hell no, this is only going to amplify the amount of people that come out to these events, because you're going to be increasing the pool at large of people that are playing PvP. What do you think?
I agree with you.
Okay, so you're on the side of thinking this will help us.
I do. I think that anyone in getting involved in building up the PvP scene, whether it's Sylph, whether it's the Pokemon Company, whether it's Niantic, that it's only going to help. We don't want less people. We want more, which includes more organizations and more people who are capable of organizing.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. That's good to hear. And you're involved with production, like you were saying, like you're kind of on that side of looking to do, make the most of these IRL events. And you've kind of worked with a bunch of YouTubers and stuff. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences of kind of working in a PvP production setting with some of the tournaments and stuff that you've kind of been involved with?
So first of all, I have to definitely give credit where credit is due. If my home community would not have pushed me to learn to do this, I would not have been involved in the production side of things. But once again, that's kind of like my role is in my community. They ask for a tournament or a stream or what have you, and I try to facilitate. As far as what I have experienced and what I have learned through production, I think that I think that producing these events, it is in very high demand, even with how small the PvP community is in comparison to the entire Pokemon Go community.
Sure. Yep.
Which makes it very easy to succeed with not a whole lot of experience.
Yeah.
As far as working with the YouTubers that I've had the chance to work with, I had met a lot of them through the Sylph Road first, even before PvP had come out. And then, of course, I helped with some things at the actual Worlds competition in Chicago, which was really where I met the rest of them. And from there, when they had learned that I had figured out how to do one of these tournament streams, the doors kind of just opened as far as opportunities.
That's awesome, and I think that what I really appreciate with what you've done, and it's like you're working with the right talent, and you have a very kind of specific focus on production quality, and I think that came across. You did the work at the Philadelphia tournament too, right? You came and did the Philly thing with who was doing that tournament? I forget who hosted that.
So I did. So there's Pittsburgh, there was Philadelphia, and then there was Montreal. So the Philadelphia tournament, that was Go Stadium Showdown.
Yes, that's right.
And I was actually not part of the production team, but it was a good opportunity for me to learn a few things.
Nice. And what do you think? I always pick people's brains here. As far as Pokemon Go being an esport and being on the same stage like we saw at Worlds, obviously there's a huge segment of people that will watch this being streamed. What do you think the game is the game missing anything right now? Do you think that the current iteration of PvP has what it takes to kind of stand on its own legs with being a viable esport for spectators?
So I think I am of the opinion that Pokemon Go PvP is already an esport. It may not be a professional esport yet, but I think it's there. I think that we have the hype. I think we've got the community for it. There's a lot of people who want it. There's so many people who are just so excited about it, and they are just so driven to be a part of it. And I mean, I definitely think that we are headed in the direction of professional esport, and I would love to see us get as big as Fortnite.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Well,
right?
no,
but with the black hole.
No,
not with the black hole, please.
Look, I think
keep producing new generations, Pokemon Company. Please, oh please.
Yes, don't stop. Right? No, I think that what we saw at Worlds was a very nice vertical slice of what the future could hold for Pokemon Go PvP. I think that that level of production, people being able to enjoy watching it in person, so you can actually have real life events at scale. But then we also saw 14,000 plus concurrent people watching the streams as it was going down on a Friday at 9 a.m. You know what I mean? It was not the optimal window for high viewership, and they still were able to pull some awesome freaking numbers. So I'm very confident in where this will go, and it's exciting because, like you were saying, like like Jimmy Banks and Jay Farmakis, like those dudes, that the freaking energy that they have, and working with other creators, like we've had Zionic on and King on, and it's like everyone has their own style of covering the sport. And what makes it exciting to me is these personalities that are kind of developing as shoutcasters and as commentators and as, people like Hero Vange and, that are, and, Call Me Jake, that are covering the PvP from such an awesome place of passion that, this is really the foundation that we need to kind of put PvP on a big stamp on the map of what's to come, because I've been saying it, when this fucking matchmaking comes out, it's going to be huge. It's like, this is going to be awesome for PvP. I'm very, very excited. As we start wrapping up here, I do want to talk about your involvement with the Sylph Road, because you do work as a ranger in Ohio, right? Like, what is that all about? That's got to be pretty freaking cool.
So there's like a few very basic things that I am like expected to do as a ranger, but it's, when it comes down to it, it's really just a Discord role. And I tell this to my community, that I'm just a person that's here to help facilitate. If there's like, anything that you guys need that's Sylph related, you need help with your trainer card, you need help with figuring out the Sylph Road bot on your new community, or figuring out how to set up tournaments. That's the role that I play. Is like I'm one of those people who's helping others learn how to also organize tournaments and also do community day check-ins. And when people travel from other states to Ohio, so one of my other roles is that I look for people who would be good guides, which is what I actually started out as. And guides are those who keep an eye on the Sylph Road server in case somebody travels to their area and is looking for a community that's friendly to play with, or specifically where they can go to get a community day check-in. Or
that's so awesome.
Yeah, well,
like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's fantastic.
Well, that's
so
actually
awesome.
That's really good to hear, especially for Melissa. And this is kind of something that I think Melissa is going to start doing, is traveling, weekend tripping and getting out as far as she can go over the course of a weekend to meet up with new communities and get kind of connected with them and
FaceTime and new people.
Yeah, and just play with different people, play with different communities, see what they're all about. And I think that's a great idea of finding these guides out there to help welcome her to the community and let her know where all the hotspots are. So if you guys are running a Sylph Sylph communities around the Jersey Shore, and you want to have Melissa come out and talk shit to your group, please let us know. And
she'll be nice at first, I promise.
One that's, obviously something I can help with.
No, we gotta get you out to Philadelphia. I think that Philly is we're an hour away from Philly, and they have such a kick-ass group over there. So it's like we gotta get you.
I have plans to come back to Philadelphia.
Oh shit!
Again,
all right,
so.
Hook it up. Let's do it.
Let's meet it up.
I'll keep in touch.
Hell yeah! Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Miss Mystic, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. I think this is really cool. It was fascinating kind of learning about, how you've transformed into
Your origins.
the Blanche persona, and how it's kind of taken over, and it's got a life of its own. And I think you're doing.
Yeah, you were so calm.
You're doing
analytical.
Arceus's
I
work.
know, aren't I?
Yeah, yeah. Don't.
For somebody that's not.
Exactly. Well, see, if she went Valor, then she would be pissed all the time.
Oh, of course. Oh, I will.
But thank you again for coming on. Why don't you let our community know where they can find you and where we should send our community to check out what you're doing. And of course, all the links will be in the description. But please, if you want to give anyone any shouts, plugs, anything, go for it.
Well, shout out to my community in Columbus, Ohio, of course. Shout out to Hardly, one of my guides, who is also learning how to stream on Twitch, and I'm very excited for her.
Awesome. Good. But
of course, shout out to my Sylph people.
Yes.
Sylph people.
But I'll put links in the description to your Twitter, and make sure that you guys all connect with Miss Mystic. Say hello, check out what she's doing, and make sure you follow the PvP scene, because things are happening, and this is the time. But Miss Mystic, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to start covering the news. We also have another very special guest that's going to be joining us for a couple minutes. Melissa and our son, Josh, the DuderGamer, will be joining us for a segment to talk about Trapinch Community Day.
Another special guest?
Because he went out to NYC along with Mystic 7 and Holly, and was grinding Trapinch in the meatpacking district of NYC yesterday along with Adam and Melissa. So we'll get his perspective on how all that worked. But we'll come back. We'll talk about that stuff. But everyone else, stick around. We'll be back right after this awesome... What are we going to do? Slowpoke? We got to go with the... dude, I can't stop playing the Slowpoke song. It's all about...
I feel like it's always Slowpoke.
You're playing it out, son. You're going to...
All right, last week of the Slowpoke song. But yeah, bring it back, Slowpoke. All right, guys. We'll see you in a minute.
Hold up, everyone. Are you ready for a sing-along? Slowpoke in a reggae style. Pokemon. Come in! Slow. Your story, Slowpoke.
And we are back from our break. Thank you guys so very much for that. Miss Mystic, thank you so much for coming on the show. Awesome story. Very cool and inspiring. And she's doing Arceus's work, making it happen in Ohio and beyond, which is really cool. She's doing good stuff. It's always awesome to hear from positive community-based people like Miss Mystic, because she's rallying the troops and promoting the game and promoting the community. It's all good stuff. So
and promoting that PvP.
Yes, last week I totally forgot to give a shout out to our patrons, so I definitely apologize for that. So I will say it with extra love this time around. But I want to give a huge shout out to our show supporter tier patrons: Brittany J, Matt, M Pitts, Terry, David, Chris, Sydney, Bacon L, The Noise, Harry, Pokenav, Bhatt, Purple Pancakes, Dem Gears Be Bangin', Lady Goobly Meat, Go Ranger Matt, The Phoenix, Baker Boy, Jolt Switch, Alex, The Illustrious Overseer, Jason, Go Live Andrew, Matt from Kentucky, Paul, and Justin. Wow. And also shout out to PJ, Nicholas, Lynchbot, Jeffrey, and Gary for joining at the Discord tier. Thank you so much. Gary is the leader of a local community in my area, which is really awesome that he has joined the Discord, and he will be taking part in our Friday night fights, which Unbreakable is doing a fantastic job of managing and hosting and facilitating for our Discord. Right now we have Kill 'em with Cuteness tournament going on, where the meta is based on all cute Pokemon.
And Delibird is in there.
So it's
Delibird is in there.
It's a lot of fun and very, very cool. Also, huge shout out to our executive producer, Paul Bhatt, who's also a local community leader to my area here. So now it's awesome. I have 2 community leaders in our Discord. We've got some really good people. We want you to be involved in our Discord. Please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Pokemon Professor. Get involved, and we could battle it out every Friday night as part of Friday Night Fights. Awesome. All right. Guys, we have another special guest joining us for the back half of the show.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, I was wondering who that
really
voice is.
excited for this guest.
Yeah, it sounded like somebody I was hanging out with this morning.
All right, so I think it was starting around episode 20 or so. Josh, also known as the DuderGamer, who's our son, Melissa and I's son, has wanted to come on the show. You know, because we keep him up late at night because we're screaming into mics all the time. So it's like, he's like, I want to come on. And we always told him on episode 100, you can come on and join the show and hang out. And here we are. So Josh, introduce yourself, dude. Who are you? Say what's up.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Welcome to the show, my man. Are you excited to be here?
Absolutely.
Why don't you tell the world a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a boy. No duh. I am 11 years old, and I'm a nerd.
Well, you're right. Then you're
just like
gonna,
Dad.
Yeah,
no.
you're gonna fit. You'll fit right in here with the peanut gallery that we have going on here.
Peanut gallery?
We're all
What
nerds
is
here.
that?
Those
And
are our
it's,
loving friends that
all-
listen to us.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
But we brought Josh on specifically, not just because he wanted to be on episode 100, but also because he joined Melissa and Adam in taking part at the New York City meetup, the Samsung meetup, with Mystic 7, Pokemon Master Holly, and a bunch of the New York tubers all got together at Samsung 837, their gallery space in the Meatpacking District, New York City. And Josh was there with the crew, rolling with the big dogs
He sure was.
for Trapinch Community Day.
You already know.
So let me recap. Actually, Adam, why don't you break down what we had going on for Trapinch Community Day as far as bonuses and all that good stuff?
The most boring thing is 3 times catch experience.
Trapinch. Trapinch. Is that the most boring thing?
And we got an alright exclusive Flygon move, Earth Power.
It's a good move.
Yeah, Earth Power. That's it. That's it. Like, I don't.
All right. Well, it was yesterday, Saturday,
Breathe
the
out.
12th, 11 to 2 p.m. Oh, a quick note also, Japanese Community Day was postponed because they're experiencing a typhoon.
Oh,
so
man.
hopefully
Oh my
everyone's
God.
safe and dry as best they can be in Japan. So, and I think Jolty John, one of the YouTubers, was in Japan for the event and it got rained out. So, hopefully everyone is safe that was over in the Japanese region. But Adam and Melissa, why don't you guys, and Josh, why don't you guys talk about your NYC experience? Because I was stuck at work playing from behind my desk at work, but you guys got to go to NYC and play. So, Adam, what did you think of the event and the Samsung space? How was it?
Okay, so the event in whole, I went 2 hours without a shiny.
Average community day.
And then I kind of like got into a cluster and I was able to get like my first one. I was like, ooh, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And then it followed like right up until the end. I got my third. So I was like, okay, I felt good. Samsung Space was amazing.
Yeah,
it
it
looked
was.
awesome.
Yeah, it was like
The
a
lights
giant
were
party.
Insane.
There's like a cafe upstairs. Lighting was optimal. Like, it was fantastic. And there's like a little stage, a huge like plasma screen that's projecting like up. It was fantastic. They had demos of all the new phones.
It was a 3-story
lounge areas.
3-story screen. It wasn't just a little projection screen. It was 3 stories. It was gigantic.
It was like a jumbotron.
It was awesome. And the quality looked really cool.
It wasn't even a stinking projector.
But to add on, there was all the Team Rocket stops. I was kind of like hitting them every once in a while because I'm like, last community day we had Trapinch coming out, or not Trapinch, we had Turtwig coming out of them, and I didn't see a single Trapinch. Super confused.
All right. Well,
I was
let
hatching a
me
bunch of
let me back
2Ks.
up real quick. Hold on. This was not your typical community day, and you guys were on the front line, so I'm sure you could attest to this. And Melissa, we'll get to you in a second. But it seemed both my own experience, your experience, and the experience of people online at large. This felt like a different type of community day. The experience was a different type of community day. The spawns, the rates, it just didn't seem like it was the same of what we're used to. How do you guys feel this felt being out there playing throughout the whole event, start to finish? Did it seem like Trapinch spawns at large were lower and less than what you would normally see on a community day?
Absolutely.
And Melissa, you could follow up with how your
110%.
shiny day went.
Okay. Go ahead, Adam. You let him. How do you feel about it?
It was awful.
Really?
Like I hit so many of the like catch 3 Trapinches and claim the task. So I do all 3 at once. Not a shiny, not a shiny, not a shiny. Get 3 more. Not a shiny, not a shiny, not a shiny. I was just like going insane. I'm like 2 hours.
Yeah, you were stressing a little bit. Meanwhile, Josh,
I was.
How are you doing during the first 2 hours?
Oh, I got stinking 4.
4. He got.
In the first 2 hours?
When did you get your first shiny?
Literally in the car driving into New York. First, second Trapinch I see. I click on it, looking away, not even thinking. I see some glow. I look down and I'm like, oh shoot, shiny. And everyone's just like,
excellent.
Yeah. So his day
Melissa,
started off amazing.
How did your day go?
No, go ahead, laugh at me, child.
All right.
Evil. Yeah, so my day.
Hey, I'm gonna laugh at you too. No,
My day
I'm just kidding.
did not.
I felt your pain.
You felt my pain for a little bit. You didn't.
No, well, for two-thirds of the time, I felt.
Yeah, so
your pain.
I didn't catch any shiny during community day.
How is this even possible?
She was catching and like I can attest. She was tapping on every single one, catching every single one that I was catching.
Yeah, and not only that,
And
I
not a single
had
shiny.
incense going the entire time. And it was weird because I played differently than I normally play. Because normally community day I'm rolling in the car playing through Red Bank, so the amount of spawns and the lured up stops are creating like huge clusters, so there's no way for me to catch everything I see. So I'm just shiny checking. This time around, because there was no spawns at all, and I was having the weirdest thing ever where I would see cluster spawns for a second. Like, I'd see 5 for a second, and then all of a sudden 3 of them would disappear, and it'd just be 2.
Yeah, that happens to me sometimes where there'll be a cluster spawn, and there'll be like 8 spawns, and then all of a sudden, like, there's 3. And I'm just like, what
Yeah,
just happened?
that definitely happened.
And I mean,
It was almost like they despawned.
yeah, it was exactly. It was like they would.
It was so
despawn
weird.
before I
Like they
get a
showed
chance
us
to,
for
like,
them
click
for a
on
couple
them.
seconds.
I wonder if they were incense or not incense, but were they lured spawns like that?
I
'Cause sometimes
did not
Yep.
get one trapinch
Yes.
from an
Most of the
incense.
times that I saw them, it was lured stops.
Yeah, well, that's kind of typical, and I heard a lot of people talking about that, where the lured spawns would show up and then disappear, and it's not like they're on a specific like spawn timer like an organic spawn is. So it's like not like you could walk around the stop and have it kind of come back. Like you would see it, and if it went away, it was gone because it was a fleeting thing that was just based on the lure. So, I mean, I was able to catch 2 shinies from my job. I did drive a little bit because I was kind of going between the 2 buildings, but I mean, I probably only, I think I caught 60 Trapinch, just throughout the day. I was running incense the whole time, trying to be mobile on my property. And I got 2 shinies, so I really can't complain.
Yeah,
with,
I can't complain.
Well, like when I talk to you guys after
drive all the way into New York City to actually play with the Pokemon community, grind my freaking Heine off, drop in incense,
And we
I mean,
did. We even broke off of the main
Yeah, we
group.
left the
we
main
were like,
group
we
because-
see all of these. There was no spawns on that walkway
and
that Samsung was like having Holly and Mystic like go for.
And me and Adam are starting to like twitch, and I started getting anxious because there was so many people that wanted to be close to Holly that they were literally crowding and walking so fast that like I was getting bumped into so hard. Like I felt like, when you're at a concert and the band that is headlining is about to come on stage and everyone starts rushing the stage.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I felt like that in that moment for a little bit where people were just kind of like rushing. Like, and I was like, let's break off of this. I was not having fun at that point, and I wasn't catching any shinies. I was just like, oh God, anxiety kicking in. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
It's like when you guys first told me, and you were like, Melissa hasn't caught any, when I was talking to Adam. And I was like, how is that even possible? Like, is she not checking? And he's like, no, dude, she's catching the whole time. Like, she's still, checking, well over 100, and it just wasn't happening. And, I mean, even JT Valor in his video, it was, an hour into the event before he saw his first shiny. And it's like, it was rampant. Everybody talking about it. So
Yeah, something was off.
So
and
this has to be with
I
the
don't think anybody was happy
restructuring, the
about it.
spawn restructure. It definitely affected the way community day spawns rolled out because the clusters weren't there, from what I understand, and just the general spawns at large weren't there, and issues with lured spawns kind of popping in, popping out. So not exactly sure what happened here, but we definitely want to hear from you. Email us, info@luredup.com. Let us know how this was in your area, and if kind of you really felt the burn of a difference in the way the spawns were, because it seems every single person I talked to, they're all saying the same thing. Spawns were down in general. The shinies just were not coming out. RNG was not in their favor. And, their normal grinding spots had such a less impact of being able to play in those spots because the clusters were just not there.
Hey, Josh, did you have incense running at all when you were playing?
I had 1 incense.
During the whole 3 hours?
Yeah.
Wow. And you still got
I wonder
how many?
Maybe the incense was
5.
screwing you guys.
5.
Yeah, I got 5 overall. Only one of them was from the incense, I think.
And what about Chanel? Do you know if Chanel was running incense? Because Adam's girlfriend was also with us, and she caught like 9.
I don't know.
Well, that's an
find
interesting thing to find out, because I wonder if, potentially if incense was kind of throwing a wrench, potentially. But I mean, I was running incense the whole time at work, you know what I mean? And I was getting spawns. So I don't know.
I
Very,
wasn't
very
getting
weird.
any of the tasks that gave you a Trapinch to catch.
Yeah,
all
that
the
was
tasks
Partially because she was holding
on.
on to the catch 5 fairy Pokemon.
Yeah,
I know, well-
I was seeing the golden raspberry, like you catch 3 Trapinch, get a golden ras or a rare candy or something. But
I was
And
getting ones with
confirmation.
Stardust.
I just texted her. She said she was using incense.
okay,
Interesting.
so weird, man. Definitely a weird community day. Email us, let us know how this affected you guys, because I think this whole spawn restructuring that happened a couple weeks ago definitely influenced the way this community day went down, and not for the better. So definitely not too strong of an event overall. Very, very, very weird. All right. Well,
This was a weak event.
yeah, let us know. But all right, let's move on here to probably the biggest news of the week, and we don't know much about it yet. This is the Niantic Wayfarer Program, which is kind of rooted in Operation Portal Recon from Ingress. But this is going to be coming from Niantic's blog, but they also have a standalone site, wayfarer.nianticlabs.com. I'll put links in the description. And they actually put a 3.5-minute video out kind of running through how this program is going to work. And the way that they're promoting this is the program will actually, they're identifying Ingress and Pokemon Go being built on the same platform. And, I think Potter is kind of involved in that too, but it seems like Ingress and Go are the stronger branding that they're pushing through this program. The way it works is where before with Operation Portal Recon, you had to be, level 10 trainer in Ingress, and you can, get added to the review team through Operation Portal Recon, where you could submit, and everything was done through Ingress. So this is going to be a standalone thing that you would get your own login for, and this will be rolling out soon. You will become what they're going to call a Wayfinder. So they're branding it as its own unique thing. So you become a Wayfinder, and the Wayfinders will then influence where the POIs will be located, just like what we saw with Ingress and the Operation Portal Recon, but they're going to be calling them way spots. So the way spot will be relative to both Pokemon Go and Ingress. And this is where they're talking about that integration where, yes, we're going to create a new image here, a new POI here. It will affect all of Niantic's games because they're all kind of running on the same framework behind the scenes. But this is a quote from the blog post, which I thought was really cool. It says, "We're happy to announce the upcoming rollout of our new tool, Niantic Wayfarer. With Niantic, you can help shape future adventures for users of Niantic products by reviewing interesting places to play our games across the globe." So definitely check out the link in the description for the video, because it shows you exactly how this will work, and it looks exceptionally user-friendly. And if you're familiar with the OPR, the Operation Portal Recon at all, this will seem very, very familiar. But I think this is a step in the right direction to further develop, customize, and kind of enhance the way we could play physically. And this could be a very strong solution for rural players that may not have OpenStreetMaps detailed in their areas. So that kind of affects where the spawn points are and where, stops show up and all that good stuff. So putting more empowerment to the trainer itself to kind of identify and shape the game, I think it's going to have an immense effect on rural players. And from a urban player's perspective, it's just going to make it that much cooler to hone in on cool
Locations.
waypoints within the community. Yeah, because you're going to have more control. Yeah, this mural is awesome. This mural just came here 2 months ago. Let's feature this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Instead of the mailbox in the picture that's
yes,
down the street.
Because that was introduced, on day one of Pokemon Go, because it was an existing portal in Ingress from 5 years ago.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, now this will be an opportunity to get all this fresh stuff in, and who knows how they're going to roll this out. I forget how many countries the portal nomination or the Pokestop nomination is in, but I know that's very rolled out. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of happens, but I'm really excited to follow this, because I think this is gonna really put the power back into the trainer's hands. And where before you can kind of just raise a voice and be concerned about a lack of POIs in your area, now you're going to be able to kind of take control of that. So check out the link, get involved as this rolls out. I would imagine you're going to want to register for this as soon as it becomes available, because I can imagine that everyone's going to want a piece of this, and
they're going to cap it off.
I'd imagine. So just pay close attention to Niantic's blog. I'll put the link in the description. Next up, this kind of follows the same path here with EX eligible gyms. It was like out of nowhere, a bunch of new EX gyms showed up. And this is the interesting part. It wasn't following the same convention that we're used to with like S2 cells, where if it wasn't a sponsored stop like a Sprint or a Starbucks, EX gyms were typically in parks, and you wouldn't see any EX gyms outside of parks unless they were sponsored. And now some of these new spots are standard gyms, not in parks. Like my community picked up 4 new EX gyms, like just in my town, not even like my county. And it's wild how many, just like normal gyms that are close to each other that shouldn't be EX eligible gyms, because there's multiple gyms within that cell. Like, it's definitely breaking convention. But Adam, have you seen or heard of, I know you're away this weekend, here in Jersey, but have you heard in your community
I haven't been able to look.
Any new gyms popping up or new EX gyms?
Not that there's anything in the chat.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that you'll find out over the week, because you've been away, but
yes.
I mean, I've heard of communities, same thing, 5 new EX gyms, or like a park, and every single gym within the park is an EX eligible gym. So very, very weird. Josh, now you're this is a good time to talk about this, because we've talked plenty about how for the longest time you couldn't even have a friends list because you were on a Pokemon Trainer Club kid account, and Niantic and Pokemon Company would not allow you to have a friends list. You couldn't even see sponsored stops. So now finally you have the ability to get EX raid passes, which is awesome. So you're excited to do your first EX raid?
I just need to get this out. It was so dumb. You can't have friends. You can't have a friend. You can't battle your friend. You can't trade. Or you can't see
couldn't do anything.
Stops. You can't do anything related with other people. It was literally a solo game. It was not at all multiplayer.
It was the worst.
For a game that's community
And how do you
based.
feel now that you can access those gyms?
Like now, it's epic because you can do all the stuff. Pokemon was nice and gave kiddos the ability to do this stuff. Finally.
Well, you were playing the game hardcore when the game first came out. You were a daily player. You played hardcore. You came out and grinded with us all the time. And then when we were able to get the friends list and you weren't, it was like you just turned the game off and didn't pick it up again. I remember you being so discouraged. So I'm so happy that you actually have access to that now. You did. You totally. It was like overnight. You just stopped playing. You're like, I'm out.
You're like, Jurassic Park, here I come.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I turned on my Jurassic World Live app. Like, I was not at all in Pokemon Go for like a couple good months. But then when it's friendless time, play on Pokemon Go, play on Pokemon Go. Just go, 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 go.
But I'll put a link in the description to the Pokemon Go Hub article that kind of details the new EX gyms. And again, it doesn't follow the conventions that we're used to. So who knows if this will have a greater impact on OpenStreetMap at large, but we'll have to pay attention to that. But let us know. I'm definitely interested to hear about your community and how the new EX gyms have kind of influenced your area, because it just seems that these are popping up all over the place, and where people would have to drive, 15, 20, 25 minutes out to an EX gym. Now there's like a bunch in their backyard. So definitely let us know on that. I'm definitely interested to hear. All right, Adam, you want to read this wonderful email that we got from Lord Dojang, and it's for Melissa. So Adam, you want to read it to her?
Ooh.
I will. Hey guys, love the show so much and thought it was total BS what happened to Melissa at Safari Zone Montreal. I went to the Safari Zone and have plenty of spare Tropius, Unknown, and Shiny Yanma. I live only a little over an hour from where you guys live and would happily arrange a time to come down and trade things to you to help you get the things you should have gotten at the Safari Zone. Keep training, traders.
Oh my
So,
God,
Tim,
it's so cute.
Tim, we may have to
Thank
make
you for
that happen,
being-
bro.
I know, dude. It was so awesome of him to offer that, because and Melissa was so funny and so humble, but she's just like, that's it. 2 events in a row now that I've made the effort to get off my butt and actually be proactive and go out there and play and do things right, and the game treats me terribly.
Screwed me.
So-
It screwed me. Like literally, Josh, take your headphones out and close your ears.
Oh no.
Earmuffs.
Totally
Too
bent me
bad.
over so bad.
Oh my god.
I was like, really? Like, the fact that I didn't get one shiny on Community Day, like,
That's
guys,
unheard of.
I can't tell you how bad I wanted to take my phone and throw it into the Hudson.
Yeah.
How many times did I say it,
You
Josh?
said it like 6 quintillion times. I'm not joking.
I was
And it kind of got annoying at the end.
at the very end. We're in the Sprint store. Yeah, I'm sure it did. Just like when you complain all the time.
Oh, come on.
So-
I
Sick
swear to
burn,
God.
When
bruh.
we're standing in the Sprint store, and Omnisec, we meet up with Omnisec, and he's like, how do you not have one? And the group was just like, please let me tap. So now like everybody's trying to tap for me, trying to give me their shiny luck, and the time is just counting down. And then at
It's
the
like 3
last
minutes
minute,
left.
I just look at the people around me, and I was just like, that's it. It's done. It's done.
It's a
Official.
wrap. It's a
Not
wrap,
only
B.
Sad
did I
noises.
have to pay the Lincoln Tunnel toll twice, that which is a story in itself. Not only did I have to pay that toll twice, and
I don't
we
know
were-
this story.
Oh
What?
yes, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
So-
my god.
Remember when you texted me and said traffic question
She
mark?
Like,
was
where are you
pretty
guys?
mad at Google Maps because that made her take the
Dude,
wrong
it's
turn.
you go through
Yeah,
the
and tell
Lincoln
me what
Tunnel.
happened, Josh.
It's
Oh,
one
I'm
turn.
gonna say the story, y'all. Stinking Google Maps is just like, hey, I have an idea. I'm gonna ruin this person's day. Okay, and they say, turn left in 50 feet. Okay, we turn left and we go straight, and she's like, wait a minute. We're back at the tunnel. So we go through the stupid tunnel again, which was like 10 minutes. And the entire time I was just sitting there like, Then we go back around, going to New York again. And then we're finally back in. She pays the toll. She screams a couple 1,000 times at stupid Google Maps. She almost throws her phone in the Hudson River again. And yeah,
But thankfully, when we parked and we got there, and we started walking, and I was power walking, all mad, trying to walk my anchor out so I could just get on with the day. I'm like, it's okay,
Yeah, you're like, we need to
And-
find Holly. We
and
need to
as
find
soon
somebody.
as we got
And then
there-
I turn and I'm like, there she is.
Adam was just like, oh, there's Holly, she's right across the street. I was like, oh, thank God, that worked out perfect. So we were able
I
to
didn't even
so
hear that story. It's
happy
like-
when we saw her. She was like, oh my God, Melissa, Adam, fill it up. All right, I can't talk, but I will talk to you.
To us.
You can't stop the machine when you're doing appearances like that. You gotta give that time to the fans.
She was
so
on
it's
the
all
grind,
good.
and
That's it.
Community Day had started. She needed to start catching her Pokemon.
Yeah,
she didn't
exactly.
get one till an hour in either.
And I was in the
telling you,
shop
man.
when she got a shiny. Yeah.
Oh, were you? Oh, got it. We'll have
Yeah.
to check the video. I know
I'd be in
the
the
image that she
content.
posted. You guys are in. But all right, I got some miscellaneous news I want to cover before we wrap up really quick. Safari Zone, New Taipei City. We talked about this last week, but we didn't have the exact numbers. We were reading that Yahoo article that said that it was expected up to a 500,000 trainers to come out. So, I thought that sounded exceptionally high. It ended up that still a stupid amount of people came. 327,000 trainers attended over the 4 days to New Taipei City. Over 50 million Pokemon caught and 4.5 million kilometers walked, which is absolutely amazing. It just goes to show you how dense that area is with trainers that, that many people can go to that event. And to put it to scale, in Chicago, they had about 15,000 people a day, where here they're, really, it's insane, but, they're over 80,000 people a day, which is absolutely insane. So the scale of these, Eastern events is just colossal compared to what we've seen here in North America. And speaking of colossal, the Colossal Discovery stuff that we talked about that was leaked in the last APK mine on GoHub, they have mined a image of the legendary golems, so we can assume that the legendary golems will be coming back as part of the Colossal Discovery quest line. We'll have to pay close attention to that. We have our October legendary raid hour schedule, sort of. Next Wednesday is the last time for Altered Giratina to do that for a raid hour. The 23rd and the 30th, the following 2 Wednesdays, we don't know. It's to be announced. So I don't know who this could be. Hopefully it's not someone recycled. Maybe we'll see a different, I don't know what we'll see. Maybe Origin form
Yeah,
Giratina.
Darkrai would be sick.
Darkrai would be really sick, Well, speaking of that, potentially, Niantic has teased their Halloween 2019 event. They put out an image with the caption, "October is here," which means it's almost time to make things a bit spookier. So I'm sure some kind of Halloween event will be coming. Typically, they'll have ghost Pokemon. There's plenty of ghost Pokemon in Gen 5, so maybe we'll see some new Pokemon like Yamask or Sandile, Vullaby. I like Frillish. I actually love Jellicent. I think it's a fantastic Pokemon. So it's Water Ghost. So hopefully, we'll see some of them. But yeah, Darkrai. Maybe Darkrai will be the one that they bring to Raid Hour for the 23rd and the 30th. I have no idea. Adam, anyone you hope to see? Do you think it could be Darkrai?
I think it could be Darkrai.
It's definitely Darkrai. I swear.
All right, Josh says Darkrai.
It's
He's
the
calling
spookiest. And then after that, they could reintroduce Origin form Giratina.
Back to EX raids?
Just to recycle. Just to recycle. No.
Just regular raids?
Just to 5 stars.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the thing. Again, unconfirmed, but in the leaks, the Mewtwo that we're seeing in EX raids right now, I think they had dated to November 2nd. November 2nd is the day that the Colossal event is supposed to happen. So maybe we'll see a shift then. It's a lot of speculation here. We don't know what these next 2 raid hours are going to be after next week. But we do know that the Halloween, event will be happening. Spiritomb coming back. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of opportunity here for Pokemon to come and be recycled. We'll have to see how that actually rolls out. And then finally, the last bit of miscellaneous news. We talked last week, I believe, about the Niantic 2020 entries that people were trying to host events in their area. Adam from New Zealand had wrote in for his community, Christchurch, New Zealand, that had put together a really cool video about their area and how they got involved with their local government and, very, very organized. Well, GoHub put together an article that had that features some of the best entries to the Niantic 2020 contest. So it's a really cool look at how organized and how serious certain communities are across the globe at, wanting to host these events. So there's some really, really cool promotional videos that the community has put together that GoHub kind of aggregated onto one site. I'll put the link in the description so you can check that out, but they're definitely worth watching because they're very inspiring. And, it's always good to see people being motivated to help others and build things in their community. It's inspiring. So, guys, we did it. That's a show. Josh, you're on the show, dude.
You did it, dude.
I'm alive.
Yeah, you're officially on.
Snore. Yay.
Well,
So
Josh,
late
why
for
don't
him.
you really quick? Why don't you plug your YouTube? This is like Josh's thing. So Josh has a very successful YouTube channel, and we could be at the supermarket, ringing something up, and like an old lady will bump into him and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, young man," and he's like, "No problem, sub to PewDiePie." No, he'll be like, "Sub to me, sub to my channel. I'm DuderGamer." Like he tells everyone. So Josh, now's your chance. Why don't you plug your channel, and I'll put a link in the description.
Don't get up and just stay here right close to the mic.
Okay.
And don't be
So
loud.
my channel is DuderGamer, DuderGamer. There's no space. But yeah, please sub to me.
What do you cover? What?
Yeah, what do you play, dude?
I do some Geometry Dash. Rarely do toy reviews, stop motions, just overall random crap that I don't have an upload schedule, really. I just post when I want.
Casual content creator.
Yeah. Josh has some videos on. He's got a video on there with over 3 million views. He's got another video with almost 2 million views. It's pretty crazy to think about.
So 4.9 million views. I am 80,000 views away from 5 mil views. So let's get 5 mil.
He's watching those analytics. But guys, thank you so much for checking out the show. We really do appreciate it. Miss Mystic, thanks again for coming on the show. It was really great having you. You can leave us a voicemail if you would like, which we would really appreciate because we like them, at 732-835-8639. Email us, info@luredup.com. And of course, check out luredup.com and check out PokemonProfessor.com for everything that we have going on with both the show and the channel. Adam, Melissa, you guys got anything else?
Just keep training, trainers.
Wow, that sounded terrible, Adam. You sick?
I know. I apologize for my voice. It's destroyed right now.
I'll say it for you. Keep training, trainers.
Keep training, trainers.
True.
All right, guys. We'll see everybody next week. Thanks again.